Okay, we're live.
Well, welcome everyone. It is 2:30 and we are eagerly going to start our college council meeting. My name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being the president of San Diego City College. College council is the highest level of shared governance at our college, where we meet bi-weekly to discuss college matters with the constituency groups and leaders of our campus. If you would like to bring a matter forward for an agenda item on college council, you can do so one of two ways. You can reach out to my office, Tia or Angel, they would be happy to add an agenda item. Or you can reach out to one of the leaders of the constituency groups that I am going to introduce momentarily. Let me acknowledge that San Diego City College sits on the traditional land of the Kumeyaay Nation. We recognize the Kumeyaay people, past and present, and their land with honor and gratitude. It is timely that we say that, given all of the things that are going on in the world, where our president thinks it's appropriate to bring certain immigrants to our country while others are being forcibly removed. As a community college, we honor that we are the first in our district to have an Indigenous Studies full-time faculty member, as well as a program. And we look forward to seeing students have an opportunity to learn about Kumeyaay and other Indigenous groups to the Americas. I'm now going to introduce the leaders of the constituency groups. Serving in a proxy capacity, one of our program managers is sitting in for Kelly Chavez, Sheila Davis. Sheila, you acknowledge being here by just saying I or here.
Here.
Probably should let somebody else do that. But good to see you. I think you're going to be presenting today. Robbie is the Dean of Information and Learning Technology.
Present.
Caesar is the Public Information Officer.
Here.
Daniel, Supervisory Rep. Present. Sunai is the President and Chair's Cabinet.
Here.
Susan is the Dean of Institutional Effectiveness and Co-Chair of City Planning.
Here.
Every time I say city planning, I love saying that because I always struggle with it. Dee is the Administrative Representative.
Present.
Michelle, sorry, for some reason I did not blame that on my eye situation. Let me go back and introduce our President of the Academic Senate, Mona. Michelle is the Vice President of the ASG. For some reason, used to sit on that side, so didn't look to my right. Sorry about that. John is the Vice President of Administrative Services. Right. John is going to step out because our veteran students are having their end of the year celebration. John, being a veteran himself, thank you for your service, is going to give the congratulations speech, and then everybody's invited to join us in the celebration of our veterans and their dependents. Marciano is the Vice President of Students. Sean is the President of Classified Senate.
Present.
Justin, the past President of Academic Senate. Marco, the Coordinator of Professional Learning Council. Did we not add?
You did, and I'm here today.
Yes, Anna Rogers is an all-around great faculty member and serving on our ideas committee, and we need to add that to the roll call because we voted, I think, the last meeting to have an ideas rep. And so
It won't always be.
okay,
Yes,
Okay.
ideas.
great, well, good to see you.
So you're here for the
I am
Web's
the-
Ideas Committee, not in proxy for Margot.
No.
Okay.
Ideas council.
Yes, so Marco was added, I want to say in the fall, as the professional learning coordinator to College Council. I believe we either voted last meeting or meeting before to have a rep from ideas that is determined by that particular committee who gives. So Anna is serving in that capacity. So what I would put for a placeholder for right now is the rep for the ideas committee. And then let's send an email Tia to Claudia to confirm who that would be.
It will, we have to rotate, it will be a faculty member, but we have to rotate through the rest of the semester.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Those are the members of College Council, the leadership of our campus. Again, if you would like an agenda item, you can put forth one by either reaching out to my office or one of these amazing leaders. The first item on the agenda is approval of the April 15th meeting minutes. Someone would like to make an approval. Motion for approval.
Great, this is Robbie, motion to approve.
Thank you, Robbie. Is there a second?
D second.
Thank you, Dee. Sorry. Sorry, didn't see the works, and I certainly did. We've got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone want to abstain or object? Great. I believe I was not here either, so there will be 3 abstentions. Marciano, we want to try to get a text into our orders. We will table 3 and come back. And I will turn it over to our chair of chairs, also known as the president of the chairs. Multiple names. One of our amazing faculty members, Sunal, is going to talk about predictable pathways. So Sunal, your floor is yours.
Have the PowerPoint?
Okay, get it pulled up.
Yeah, Tia is managing through some technical difficulties over there.
So it's been a while. Hi, everybody.
Hello there.
How many of you are familiar with predictable pathways, P3? Yay, yay. So I'm here just to give an update on the end of predictable pathways and to talk about the next strategic enrollment management project, which is integrated scheduling for student success, or IS3, because that's too much of a mouthful to say. So I'll talk a little bit about what predictable pathways was, how it came about, how we're ending it, which is this week. Friday is our last meeting, and then move into IS3. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with the work that was done in guided pathways, and predictable pathways actually came about as an offshoot of something we were doing in student journey. So as we were thinking about what needed to happen for our students in our student journey council, we kept coming up with this like, oh, our students need to be onboarded. And every time we came up with something, it was a student services thing. Well, we realized that we couldn't actually do that for our students if we didn't know what classes were going to be offered and what scheduling we had to give them. So we couldn't predictably onboard students. We couldn't tell our students at our colleges or when we were doing outreach what we could do for them or how to onboard them accurately if we didn't actually know what programs they were going to have and when those programs would actually be offered. And so that is how we came up with predictable pathways. I just needed to, yeah. Perfect. All right, so I've already given you the overview. Just enter. So what we did is we came up with a enrollment management project that actually built on the work that was happening in guided pathways. So Sean Bacon and Bradford Prairie had actually looked at their program and done sort of a deep dive into when they offered their classes and what order they offered their classes in and how often offer their classes. And they had brought that work to Guided Pathways. And so as we were thinking about how to create predictable and two-year scheduling for our students, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we went back to the work that Sean and Bradford had done, and we came up with P2. So it is a series of workshops that's focused on creating multi-year schedules for individual programs within the college. And the central goal is really enhancing student success through clarity, efficiency, and flexibility. The workshop goals, 4 of them, this comes straight out of the work that Sean and Bradford did. We wanted to develop comprehensive multi-year academic schedules that really reflect the needs of our student bodies and promote equity. So I want to clarify that here we're talking about schedules, but really this is like one step to getting to that, right? So what we're doing is creating a predictable pathway for students to get that. Scheduling is going to be something a little bit different. That is when we offer the classes, what modality we offer the classes in. Predictable pathways is really about offering the classes in a series that students know they can always get, and they could get through in 2 years if they wanted. So the workshops also want to integrate insights from the historical data on enrollment and resource allocation so that we can build feasible and efficient course schedules and to optimize our course scheduling and sequencing, enabling students to enroll in more classes each term, which of course is good for us because that means we're actually maximizing our benefits out of, I just forgot the name of it, out of the state funding model. And then increasing enrollment and productivity. And then also to foster this culture of cooperation and shared vision across departments so that instead of competing with each other, that we're really working together to offer students the courses they need when they need that, and that we're working with other departments to do that and other programs. So how do they make their decisions about the pathways? Well, they have to be agreed upon by all the participating parties prior to the workshops. So Sean and Bradford work with people from the program, let's say English, and they all decide sort of what criteria they're going to use. And those are designed to guide the collective efforts in creating the program pathway, the sequencing, and then eventually to be doing this multi-year scheduling that's really sort of focused around student success. 3 primary criteria is that it's student-centered, that it's data-informed, and that it's realistic. Not going to go into that much more. The program workshop series used to actually be a series of 4 workshops. We've narrowed it down to 3, and starting this summer, it's actually going to be 2. So now it's an orientation of 30 minutes. That's actually now going to be a video that programs do on their own. And then we're going to have meetings 2 and meetings 3, which is curriculum mapping, which is about 90 minutes, and then schedule planning. And by schedule planning here, we're not thinking, okay, these are the days and times they're going to be offered. We're thinking, okay, schedule planning is what are you going to be offering in the fall? What are you going to be offering in the spring? What are you going to be offering in the fall year 2? And what are you going to be offering in the spring? So again, here schedule planning is really not about dates and times. It's just about years and the program pathway. So if students want to get through in 2 years, they can. So in spring and the summer of 2024 for this project is when we were really doing the planning. We piloted it this fall and we launched it this spring. This summer and all through next year will be the institutionalization of this program. So what does that look like? Well, here are the programs that have completed. We're a little low here. All of the programs on the left are the ones that have completed the predictable pathways. And these are the programs on the right that are going to be going through this summer. By the end of the summer, we'll probably be about halfway through all of the programs. We have a couple more programs who are going to go through this summer. Our Our next steps really are the guided pathways work for 1 year, which is ongoing. And thanks to Guided Pathways and Susan for funding the predictable pathways work that is happening this summer. This Friday, we have our final convening for the Chancellor's Office on predictable pathways. We'll be heading up to, I want to say San Francisco, but it's really not San Francisco, it's Burlingame. And we are going to present to the California Chancellor's Office, and then that part will be done. But really, the most important work is to come, and that is about the institutionalization of this project, right? So often what happens is we get really excited about a project and then we don't have this follow through. And so part of this project is really about following through. So as I said, 15 programs are going through this summer. What we are going to be doing, it looks like for now, we're still working this out, but for all programs that are going through comprehensive program review this fall, they will actually need to, in addition to their program review, do this predictable pathways, right? And then moving forward, we'll see which programs still haven't done it and attach that to their next program review so that within the next year and a half, all programs should have completed the predictable pathways, right? Finally, we need a way to sort of like keep on top of this and make sure that those pathways are current, because we know things change. We get all of Anna's work with math and English. We get all of these things from the state saying you need to do this or you need to change this, or anything that comes along. We have to be able to go back and look at our pathway and make sure they're still up to date. So what we're going to be doing is attaching a review of the pathway to the annual catalog review. So they'll do a review of the program map. They'll update Program Mapper with the new curriculum person. And then hopefully in conjunction with that curriculum person, they will be working to update the program webpage. Questions on P2? Okay. So the next project. So because when we came up with P2, because it sort of arose out of this idea that we wanted to do things to onboard new students and to make it easier for our outreach team to talk to high school students coming in and high school students at the high schools in our CCAP program. We realized that this couldn't be sort of a one-off. That is, we needed to kind of build the infrastructure to ensure that student services could do that kind of onboarding and could sell our programs in that way. And so we knew that we wanted to do another enrollment management project. And so we applied for this next one and we were accepted by the California Chancellor's Office. And this is integrated scheduling for student success, which is mouthful IS3. This fall, we're going to develop an integrated scheduling process. Part of doing that is going to be identifying the gaps and the barriers and identifying student preferences. Susan, don't stress, we're not coming to research for that. We have a whole variety of resources. We've got 2 great coaches that are working with us. One is actually out at Grossmont and the other is from LA City College. And the coaches that we requested were actually, we wanted a coach that had actually gone through this kind of integrated scheduling process with their college. And so the LA City College one has done that. After we do all of that kind of research, what we're going to do is pilot an integrated scheduling model with English, math, and biology. Okay, so some programs, some other colleges literally get every single chair into a room to do scheduling all at one time. That's one of the models we heard from our last convening. We don't know if that's going to work for us. And so what we want to do is really pilot this with sort of our 2 biggest programs, English and math, and with biology. If any of you were at the most recent enrollment management forum, you saw the deployment of a tool that actually the math faculty created that showed heat maps of where our classes are scheduled. And pretty much our classes are all scheduled from like, well, 9:30 to 12:35. Right? And so we're gonna use some of that data to see how can we actually ensure that students can attend a full day? Because if all of our classes are scheduled, then students are gonna take longer to get through, right? So that's what we're going to do. We have no idea what that looks like right now. We don't know what it's like. Are we going to get everybody into a room? We don't know. Maybe we just get sort of clusters of programs into a room, but we're starting with English, math, and biology. And then we want to coordinate with administration to ensure that we have the FTF allocated and ensure that there are ways that we can assist and promote the completion and our transfer of our students. Finally, in the spring, what we're planning on doing is creating a tiered integrated schedule model. So how can we take what we learned with English, math, and biology and spread that across all the programs so that we're creating schedules that will actually promote students taking more classes, not ensure, but support their completion and their retention. We don't know what that looks like yet. That's the point of the project. So, any questions? All right. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who is working on this project. As Marciano was sharing with me, there's some cool aspects of this project that are going to allow our students to have a better idea of where they're starting and how to get to the finish line, which is either transfer or a certificate. So I want to thank all of the members of the team and those who took time out of their summer to go to the planning. Look forward to just painting a clearer picture for students and those who are working with scheduling chairs and the like as to how we get students through completion, because that really is what this is about. It's how to streamline it. As soon as mentioned, is also about giving outreach a clear understanding of what programs are actually activated. Given institution of our size, there are a lot of classes and programs in our catalog, some of which are not regularly offered. And so this is an attempt to really make sure that what we have in our catalog, if a student or prospective student is looking through it, that they know for sure when that course is going to be offered so that they can plan accordingly. So again, thank you to everybody involved. Want to go back to item 3 and turn it over to Marciano to do an introduction, a formal introduction to the campus of one of our newest coordinators.
Thank you, everyone. Please join me in welcoming Kaylin Bell. Kaylin sitting in the back here, but Kaylin is our new Moja coordinator for our Moja program. And Kaylin is not new to campus, although he is new to this role. So Kaylin was an adjunct with us and was actually embedded in Moja for some time, and then took a little time away to go to a college that shall not be named, but then realized the error of his ways.
You saying he wanted to test the waters somewhere else?
And then decided that home is where his heart is. So he has come back to City, where his heart is, and we are excited to have him leading once again our Moja program. As many of you know, we went through some transition. The search took a little bit longer than we had hoped it would take to complete. So during the time that there was, we had another acting person in the Moja coordinator position, and then we went about a month and a half with just with 2 adjuncts that were filling in to fill that in until Kaylin joined us. So we are excited to welcome him back to our campus and to the program, and then I'll let Kaylin tell us a little bit about himself and anything he wants to share about him. So, welcome, Kaylin.
Great, so much.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be, here before you all today. It's as Marciano mentioned, it's returning home. It's certainly where where home is for me. So yeah, it's an honor. I'm grateful. I'm blessed to be here. Sorry.
Anything you want to share with them about Emotion, things that are coming up, or how they can be involved with Emotion, or?
I mean, right now, it's, yeah, I started maybe like, 3.5 weeks ago. I had to figure out run-ins, a lot going on. So yeah, this semester's wrapping up, we're enrolled, or will be, maybe like next week. But in the meantime, it's we're taking students to Hamilton Lake tonight at 7 p.m. That's something that they advocated for, something they wanted to do. They just told me what they wanted to do. I'm like, all right, cool, so let's, link up with the leaders and see how we can make it possible. And we were able to do so. So Hamilton tonight, it's my first time seeing them play or going to a play, in general, so I'm excited myself too. I tried to make it into a date night. My wife was like, no, the date is when you pay for it, not your job. So it didn't work out. But aside from that, it's the, end of the year celebration as well. We're looking at tentatively the week of the 26th to the 29th, so I'll keep you all in the loop on that as well. But yeah, it's work to do. I'm glad to be here.
And just for those who may not be aware of what Emoji is, although I think many of us do, would you mind just high level, how would you describe Emoji?
Yeah, I mean, Emoja, so the elevator pitch is, it's a program, that helps support students and, assist in enhancing their academic and their, personal journeys. But the way I like to look at it, I think truthfully is that it's a resource. I think Emoja is all about exposing our students, right? Like I mentioned today, with the Hamilton Pride play, it's all about exposure. So we're going to, campus tours everywhere. We've gone to, since I've been in this role, we've been to, San Francisco, we've been to UCSD, Cal State San Marcos, we've been to SDSU. Yeah, I can think of. So it's almost exposing, probably have like the annual conference, which is exposed to a lot there. Many universities had had the opportunity of going to different countries in Africa. So yeah, it's a resource to plug these students into as many things as possible, to make sure that they're successful. They meet other personal goals, transfer goals, right, academic goals. That's the name of the game, so right here.
Great, let's again welcome Kaylin to the campus in his permanent role at San Diego State College. Thank you, good to see you. I want to also acknowledge the great work of Dr. Aaron Charlins, who served in that role for 17 years. So Kaylin has some big shoes to fill, not literally, but figuratively. And we look forward to seeing him enhance the program and take it further into the future, as we have had one of the best Emoji programs in the state, and we know that he's going to build on that legacy. Marciano and I have ongoing conversations with the Emoji students, and I'm going to address a matter a little later that took place during the transition that we're learning about. But again, happy to have a permanent coordinator. Let me also acknowledge that Dr. Charlins, in her new role in the Transfer Center, is doing an amazing job. If you all haven't stopped by the Transfer Center lately, please do so. And then lastly, what I'll say is I've really met with Kaylin and Bernice and Marciano before this meeting. And one of the things that we're looking to expand into Emoja, and Dee and Robbie, I mentioned your two names in that conversation, is the mentoring. And certainly would love to see that in Fuente and all of our learning communities, because our students have an opportunity to learn from the people who both are in this room and on campus. And so I look forward to either the fall or the spring, Kaylin rolling out a mentor component. So please be on the lookout for an email if you'd like to serve as a mentor for Emoja. As our students learn career pathways, you heard a little bit about that. So again, Kaylin, welcome. Let's give Kaylin a round of applause. Let's move on to Ms. Davis, who is going to talk about the apprenticeship program update.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sheila Davis, and most of you know me, but if you don't, I'm the Special Projects Manager out of the BICET department. So I oversee the apprenticeship program. credit for prior learning, work-based learning, and work experience. I did want to provide you with all a quick update of where our apprenticeship program is and what we're looking at towards the future, our future goals. We've completed all of our promotional filming. We hired a third party to come in the fall and did promotional filming for each of our respective areas, cosmetology, barbering, apprenticeships, all the listing of what I said before, credit for prior learning, work-based learning. That was designed to promote our programs, have a quick soundbite as to being able to put that in a Canvas shell or put it online. We have them loaded up to the City College YouTube site, so everybody can view those videos if they want one by one. Or if they're interested in having them emailed out to a student or have interest, I'm happy to send them out as well. Like I said, it gives kind of a quick overview of what that particular program is about, so if a student's interested, they can get a snapshot, see if that's something they want more information about. Last fall, we completed the roadshow, different areas of the campus. And I was in the acting position at that time. I am in the full-time position. So I'll continue that work that we've been doing. We, in my role, one of the things I wanted to do if it became permanent was hold our first apprenticeship forum. We did just hold that in March. We had 40+ people attend. It was a really exciting event because we brought the sponsors together with our apprentices who were able to come, and we had campus resources available. A lot of people don't know how our apprenticeship program works on campus, so there's different types of programs. We have students that actually take classes on site with our sponsors, Black Contractors Association and SDG&E. The rest of our sponsors, such as Solar Turbines, take classes here on campus. So some of our student groups have no idea the services that we have available on campus. So I wanted to bridge that gap and bring them to campus to show them what we have, make them feel welcome, help them be a part of the campus so they didn't feel so disconnected maybe in the past. Right now, we're currently scheduling face-to-face meetings with all of our sponsors. I did do that in the fall, but we are scheduling for spring and summer. We want to continually engage them on a regular basis so they know that we're available to support them, provide resources, and let them know we're just here in general. If they have questions or curriculum concerns, that type of thing. Also, one of the biggest announcements, so excited I can't talk. One of the biggest announcements that we're excited about is we're bringing on GKN Aerospace as an apprentice. So for the past probably 9 months and counting, I've been working very diligently with them and the state to bring those folks on to create a new program. We want to, again, expand our program, bring on different folks, and continue to strengthen the relationships we have with those we've had for quite a while. Some of the other possible items on the horizon are back General Atomics. We did work with them for a long time, and so we are working on that. We're also working on a possible child development apprenticeship. So there is things in the wings right now that we're trying to bring on to, like I said, expand our horizons, expand our program, and grow it exponentially. I worked on a professional development series. I just completed my first one. It was called What is an Apprentice? And we had a good showing. We had about 12 people come from different areas of campus. Wanted to explain what an apprentice is, what it entails. It's an earn and learn model for students. Again, we want to educate the folks on campus that we have this amazing program and students have an alternate option to getting into the workforce sooner and learning their trade as they're doing so. I also have ones for June, July, and August, although a lot of folks aren't on campus. We still want to continue that. And the next one will be how to be an SDG&E apprentice. So we're going to walk everybody through what those steps are. And we will be recording it. So if those folks aren't available during the summer, we can certainly send those out so everybody can view those if they'd like. We've also applied for RFA grants, around 8 or 9 grant applications completed for the barbering program. So we're really excited about that. I helped put those applications together and get those completed for submission. We also spent 2 days at San Diego High School, discussing the apprenticeship program with the seniors there. That's not something, we normally do, typically student services does that, but because they're, close proximity to us, I wanted to get over there and meet them and say, hey, we have this apprenticeship program. We want to be available to you if you need information, or again, if the students are seeking a different path. And so I figured it would be an opportunity to get out there since we could literally walk over there. And then we are currently in the beginning stages of developing an advisory board for our apprenticeship program. Although there's an overarching CTE advisory board at the district, because we're growing our program here on campus, I think it's so important that we have that advisory board. Just to collaborate with other folks and other companies that do what we do and see if we can do it better or change what we're doing or, enhance our curriculum. So I'm really excited to start that. My goal start date is fall 2025, with the first meeting being in October. So if you're interested in being a part of that, please let me know. I'm happy to add you to my list of folks that want to contribute to that particular advisory board. So with that being said, thank you all, and I'll continue to sit here. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions for Ms. Davis? No, you're doing a wonderful job. Let me say that apprenticeships are so important to the work that we do here. Being able to place our students in above livable wage careers, particularly union jobs, trade jobs, jobs with excellent retirement opportunities. And I was in a meeting today, in fact, where as part of our bond program, we are frankly requiring contractors to hire our students to help build and learn. Because if you really think about it, an apprenticeship is a form of or can be looked as in a form of an internship. And so these students who are in our Black Contracts Association program, where they work on drywall and other things, the students who are going through a machining program, the students who are going through our electrician program, there's no reason that these students shouldn't be getting paid to work on some of the projects alongside of master electricians and master plumbers and things of that nature. And so I'm proud that I work at a district that thought enough of our students to say, hey, look, we want to make sure you all are earning a livable wage while you're learning and putting the skills that you're learning in the classroom from our faculty to use in the building of some of the facilities. Especially, you're probably going to be in a meeting coming up with the ECC theater project and some of the other projects that will partner with the leads to place some of the students who are in that particular program. But let me also, for the record, say that even though the name of the program is the Black Contractors Association, that program is open to anyone, right? So you have people from all walks of life that are enrolled in that program, and they are in fact students at San Diego College. And those students are going to be working on some of the projects that we have underway or that will be underway in the district. So thank you again, Sheila. I've absolutely seen marked improvements since you went into that particular position. So congratulations to you doing a good job. Any questions?
Yeah, so how many apprenticeship programs do you have?
7. That would be 8.
You mind going through them? Don't test or anything.
No, I don't mind. Solar turbine, operating maintenance engineer, which is a union, Black Contractors Association, SCG&E, and we have MTS trolley, MTS bus, and we're doing a teach out on general atomics with one student. And then we are in the process of working with another general atomics location, because I did say general atomics, but that's another one we're gonna be starting. They're gonna be hiring 100 employees, all 100 of them. So, yeah, that's who we're working with now. Oh, and very important, City of San Diego, US missing one.
Great. Again, thank you for all the work that you're doing. We will go to any other questions? We will go to our academic senate president, who has an update on resolutions from the Senate.
Thank you, Ricky. So we passed 4 resolutions not during this last meeting, but the previous meeting. And I think I sent them to Santia. I'm just gonna briefly go over the sustainability and the non-credit AB 1433 resolution, so we can start with sustainability. And those are district resolutions, but I'll just briefly summarize what they're about, who introduced them, and what the ask is of the district. The sustainability resolution was co-written by Lisa Will and Lisa Chaddock, and I offered some support in that process. They're both sustainability champions on our campus and members of the district sustainability committee, and they're trying to establish a committee around campus and trying to establish more support from the district for sustainability efforts on campus. So this resolution asks for support from the district to establish a sustainability committee and also to establish the assigned time for a sustainability coordinator on our campus. Any questions about that? We can move on to non-credit, AB 1433. So AB 1433 is proposed legislation to essentially offer more equity in funding for non-credit colleges like our College of Continuing Education. Our chancellor or our board of trustees passed a similar resolution a few weeks ago. And so I was inspired to write one for our Senate, which we're passing on to our legislatures. And then I also wrote one for ASCCC, which passed at our spring plenary. And so our ASCCC is endorsing increased funding opportunities for continuing education for any non-credit colleges. So we're hoping that this just helps support AB 1433 to pass. We think it was a no-brainer, right? Like equalizing funding, but apparently there is some pushback. So we want as much support as we can for these colleges, and so if anyone, if classified or any kind of employees have the opportunity to advocate for that in person. The next one is the Student Employee Protection Letter, and so I'm actually going to read this. We're not, there are no specific acts for our college. I have met with our chancellor about this, and the district was working on some of the requests from this letter. I will read it first. So this is titled Position Paper at San Diego City College condemns retaliation against activists and urges San Diego College district support. On Saturday, March 8th, Mahmoud Khalid, a Columbia University student and Palestinian rights activist, was arrested by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Immigration Customs Enforcement. After being initially taken into ICE's New York field office, Mahmoud was taken to ICE's Central Louisiana Detention Facility, although his current whereabouts are. This was previously. Khalid's arrest is a horrific escalation of state violence targeting pro-Palestinian student protesters and students with recent immigration history. Khalid broke no law during campus protest and is a legal resident of the United States. As the federal government ramped up its crackdown on immigrants and international students, Khalid emailed the Columbia University administration writing, "I haven't been able to sleep fearing that ICE are dangerous. Individuals might come to my home. I urgently need legal support and I urge you to intervene." Columbia University did not respond. While it is unconfirmed if Columbia University collaborated with DHS to target Khalid in retaliation for his role in the anti-genocide movement on campus, the university has since allowed ICE into student dormitories with at least one confirmed student arrest. As of April 4th, the United States government has revoked more than 600 student visas, creating an environment of fear in higher education. That number has increased by now. And as of April 11th, 20 community college student visas have been revoked. Again, there's been significant increases. While SDCC administered policy 3415 states that our campuses will not cooperate with ICE or other federal immigration agencies, recent events at Columbia University show that such policies on paper alone are not enough to truly safeguard our students and employees. Prior to the arrest of student activists, Columbia's Board of Trustees had issued a protocol for visits to campus by ICE agents, a document similar in language and intent to our own STCCD board policy of protecting undocumented students. Despite this, Columbia failed to uphold its commitments through inaction, and ultimately their cooperation with law enforcement resulted in direct harm to students. This cannot be ignored. The Academic Senate of San Diego State College strongly condemns Columbia University's complicity in state violence against its students, whether carried out by NYPD, ICE, or DHS. We urge the state, STCCD to join us in this denunciation and recommit publicly and actively to the protection of all students, faculty, and staff from enforcement of these unconstitutional practices. The San Diego City College Academic Senate is calling for increased support for our students and employees who may be at risk. We respectfully request the following: clear, consistent communication with our immigrant communities, including but not limited to students on F1 visas, about their rights, up-to-date information, and the district's commitment to protecting free speech. A comprehensive list of campus and community resources available to affected students and employees. Access to legal and mental health support for those impacted. Financial assistance for impacted students and employees facing hardship. A firm commitment to supporting student campus activism and upholding First Amendment rights. San Diego State College Academic Senate stands with all of those fighting for justice, liberation, and safety on our campus and beyond. We will not be silent in the face of state violence, whether it comes in the form of immigration raids, militarized policing, or investments that profit from oppression. For the safety and dignity of our students, we call on our colleagues across academia and our broader community allies to stand with us. So this was actually inspired by another campus's letter, and what we're specifically asking, at least on this campus, and the district is already working on their own resources, is some support for people who might be impacted, because I know that we can't necessarily stop what's happening in its tracks. But as we collectively thought about how to respond, we thought about what it would be like to be a student who was snatched up from their home or even campus and be faced with this reality. What we overwhelmingly felt was, while we might not be able to prevent that from happening, at the very least, we can try to provide some resources. So we don't want to be in a position where we feel like there's nothing we can do. Because the students or whoever's impacted need to feel like there is some kind of wrapping around of resources of support, that they getting emails periodically reminding them that these are the resources available. This is how your campus can support you. So that's what we're asking for, is some of these resources exist, and so we just want to be reminded. We want our campus community to be reminded that there are resources that we can support people if you're in this situation. Here's what to do, right? Luckily, we haven't. Our students haven't been impacted. Our employees haven't been impacted, but that can be. Questions? All right, and then last but not least, we passed a very long AI position paper. All of this is publicly available on our website, but our position paper is approximately 10 pages long and addresses some concerns that our faculty work group have around the way AI is impacting academia.
Which one is that one? I'm sorry.
AI position. So I do have to preface this by saying that we're not implying that people shouldn't use AI or even recommending ways that we should use AI. We're just asking, we're asking for guardrails, right? And for some support from the district and potentially the college for professional learning, for recognition of some of the concerns. So we broke this up into concerns, areas of concern, which include, just scroll down to areas of concern. Which is broken up into areas of concern, which include profit, right? That the acknowledgement that AI technology is for profit, and so we should kind of lead with knowing that. Bias, right, the understanding that AI systems are typically biased. Critical thinking, right, the potential impacts that AI may have on critical thinking. Integrity, so concerns with academic integrity. And the temptation to see thinking to AI. Academic freedom, right? So we do specify that faculty have academic freedom, so we're not suggesting a uniform policy. Intellectual property, right? So there are concerns around intellectual property with AI because once something is taken by AI, when someone puts information into AI, it then owns that and it could potentially violate privacy, right? So there's not a lot of information available to students and other people who are using AI that highlights what AI use means for privacy. Also concerns are potential loss of human-centered approaches for faculty and students. Equity, right? So there has been a lot of discussion around teaching students how to use AI for equity because they're going to need to use it in the workforce. But we're actually concerned about inequity if in other ways. So regarding ways that students who become over-reliant on AI might end up losing critical thinking skills or literacy skills as a result. So while it is important for students to have the skills, it's also important for them to not skip over literacy skills. So a lot of what we are looking at in terms of concerns are related to AI misuse because there isn't a lot, there isn't a big, the discussion has not really centered in misuse, right? But that's what we're seeing happen because we're not really talking about it in guardrails. Also lack of research on pedagogical and mental health implications, right? We just don't know much about that. We now know that social media use has mental health implications, but that's years after this has become popularized. Transfer considerations. So knowing that students who are overusing AI might not have the skills they need to transfer. Pedagogical realities, right? Just the reality that this technology is not evidence-based. And then lastly, not lastly, second to last, environmental impact and sustainability. So knowing that this technology is not sustainable for our environment. And then lastly, increased workload. So this is a big concern that faculty, whether you choose to use AI or not, we're faced with the reality that we have to pivot in our classrooms. And so this is dramatically increasing our workload, right? We're having to reimagine our prompts. We're having to, completely revise sometimes our courses, and oftentimes on the fly because we're realizing that our current prompts are subject to AI misuse. And then we have a series of recommendations. I'll just read the title of the recommendation. Number 1, guide the adoption of new AI technology. So the Senate would like to be a part of adoption of new AI technology. We'd like to, particularly for instructional purposes, right? We'd like to review some of those recommendations from the district or the college and have a chance to explore some of the ethical considerations before adopting that technology for the campus. Recommendation 2 is collaborate with the district to create a balanced online resource hub. So we want to make sure that any kind of online resource hub both looks at ways to use AI and also some of the ethical considerations and also ways to report generative AI misuse. Recommendation 3, conduct an evolving technology yearly biannual check-in. So this has come up in various spaces even before AI, right? That we're like the technology is consistently changing and we really need to have a consistent way to check in with faculty. And I'm speaking only from a faculty lens, but I also know that classified and managers have similar needs, but to check in with evolving technology, right? Like what's happening with technology and really intentionally checking in with what's changing and how this is impacting our students. Recommendation 4, revise the academic integrity policy. So currently AI is not specified. And so we actually give some a recommendation for language to add, that reads misrepresentation, presenting information, images, or created or text generating software, Gen AI, as your own words and ideas, right? And there's other ways to consider adding that. So for example, just specifying that using generative AI or other technology in a way that is not approved by your professor or not listed or not specified as an approved use in your syllabus. And I also think that's helpful because this will prompt faculty to include AI policies in the syllabi, right? Because currently that's not happening across the board. Recommendation 5, support academic freedom and discipline-specific learning in alignment with our core values of academic integrity and excellence in writing all AI policy, right? So we want to make sure that faculty are not feeling like, we don't want to take a one-size-fits-all approach, so we don't want faculty to feel like they're forced either way to use AI and that policies are considering that. Recommendation 6, encourage instructors to include an AI policy in their syllabi, right? This is, I think, really important for our students because there's a lot of confusion around what appropriate use of AI is, and ultimately it's up to the faculty member, but our students really need to know. At recommendation 7, establish a permanent AI in academia academic summit work group, which we are working on. Recommendation 8, identify and establish one AI teaching leader from each department or discipline. And so specifically, we want this person not just to be an expert in using AI, but we want this role to help faculty navigate AI misuse in the classroom, because this is a significant issue, especially in classes in which reading and writing are highlighted. Recommendation 9, hire instructional designers with expert knowledge on identifying and minimizing AI misuse. Recommendation 10, develop and incorporate best practices in the district's online faculty certification program to help minimize generative AI misuse in online courses. So we specified online courses because we're finding that it's a lot harder to identify or to cope with AI misuse in online courses because we don't have that one-on-one relationship with our students. We don't meet with them regularly. When we are in the classroom with students, oftentimes we have other ways to cope with AI misuse, like we're having students write in person. We can have a conversation about the writing, but in an online course environment, it's becoming harder and harder to deal with that. So we think that the online courses need their own form of training on how to what to do when they or some tools to deal with AI misuse. Recommendation 12, continue to provide compensated faculty development and instructional improvement. So the Senate, along with professional learning, this semester paid for a faculty cohort, which is doing really incredible work to pivot in a world of AI. That's what we're calling it. But what I saw in the last class, I've been going to the classes, was that faculty are innovating in ways that I think that they never wanted to, right? And so it's really a hopeful space because we think about AI as like, how I think about AI is problematic in a lot of ways, but also hopeful because it is forcing us to reconsider what we're doing in class. And some of the assignments that faculty shared were so interesting and engaging and exciting. So we want more spaces like that. We would like to have paid opportunities for faculty to create new assignments, knowing that the current assignments are no longer serving for students, right? And this is an alternative to being AI, right? Because we don't want faculty to feel like that's the only option. Recommendation 13, I'm almost done, provide training on ethical considerations for students and employees. This is very important because a lot of people are using AI without necessarily knowing what it means, right? Like what happens to your data. I've heard of faculty members using AI to offer feedback to students. And so it's especially for faculty who are using AI in that way, they need to know that students have to give consent, right? So students have to consent to having their papers be fed into kind of AI program and that, and what does that consent mean, right? Like, what does that consent mean for the private? And so we actually think that that should be mandatory training for students. Students also need to know what AI is and what it means. And that there should be some kind of training similar to, I believe UCSD is developing something or have developed something for their students that is mandatory for all incoming students as part of registration. They'll need to learn about like what AI is, what it isn't, what are ethical considerations, and then what to expect. Recommendation 14, collaborate with college and district sustainability committee to assess and mitigate how imminent use of AI might be impacting the local environment. I recently met with our chancellor and vice chancellor of innovation about this paper. And we did develop some strategies about moving forward and how to ensure that we are critical in the way that we are moving forward with AI. And this was the one recommendation that the chancellor said he was not sure on how to move forward with this. Like, what do we do about the way that AI is impacting the local environment? And what we concluded was that this needs to be part of the ethical considerations training. So people just need to learn about how AI is impacting the environment, and then they can make their own choices about how to move forward. Any questions? So that was a lot of talking.
All necessary, and kudos to our academic senate and our academic senate president for their leadership on all of these areas. As I reflect on AB 1433, correct me if I'm wrong, but even before our College of Continuing Education put forth a resolution, our college did. So CE remains one of our largest, our non-credit to credit, they're one of our largest feeders, right? And there is a challenge and a problem with the way the state funds non-credit programs. And we don't want them to feel like second-class citizens or less than. So kudos to our academic senate for their leadership that is now gaining momentum throughout the state. To your point of the resolution about what can we do to support free speech and or those who may find themselves in either harm's way or the sights of our government. There are absolutely things that we can do. In fact, I requested that Marciano work with the College of Continuing Education, who's going out for a contract for a lawyer, that our undocumented center or our other offices, if they encounter a student who needs access to a lawyer, then we will have a fund to be able to do it, not for every student, but those students who find themselves in unique situations that we are working on a contract with a law firm that we had a relationship with prior, where a student would get funded a consultation with that particular lawyer. So there are absolutely things underway because these things are very real. We learned today that our colleagues at Riverside Community College lost one of their HSI grants due to what is going on in Washington D.C. Right, so these are very real things that are occurring, and we don't want to wait till something happens to have something in place. So Marciano is working to get a contract with that law firm. We won't be broadcasting that we have this because it's a pot of money. It'll be from referrals of faculty or the undocumented resource center that someone who has, I don't want to say a severe case, but a very urgent need will be able to support, accessing at least the first consultation will be on the college. So there are things that we need to do that we are doing in light of what is going on in the country. Any questions for Mona? Sean, I would offer you the same opportunity if the classified senate has resolutions that we would want to have them here. And Mona and I realize that a lot of times when there are resolutions for the academic senate, go straight to the district that we would want to give our campus for those who are not going to the district meetings or watching them, that we would have those discussions. Students would be great, I would offer you the same thing. Moving along, I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's going to go over two areas, the CCJC annual report and the employee safety survey.
So, every year, ACCJC, our institutional accreditor, requires us to provide an annual report, and that includes a lot of information on enrollment, programs that might be new, programs that might have been discontinued, any changes in location, just other updates that we give ACCJC in between our every 7 years comprehensive visits. They also have a set of what they term institution set standards, where there are specific student achievement metrics where we not only report data, but we are asked to set some goals. And so those, we also present in a formal report that is discussed first in the Institutional Research and Effectiveness Committee, and that group also helps to set the goals. That group reports to city planning, and now city planning is sharing this information with College Council. So the reporting year in question is 23-24. So our most recently completed full academic year. We have two indicators, course completion and annual retention, which looks at students who are enrolled in the fall term and continue enrollment at the college the following fall. So those are kind of the most current. And then we have indicators for degree completion, certificate completion, and transfer. So those will lag because those have to look back farther in order to give students enough time to complete. And I won't go through this in detail because I know we don't have a lot of time, but we can share this information in other settings or discuss. There is a chart for each metric. The red bars show 5 years worth of data. The gray shaded area in the background represents kind of the threshold based on our prior performance. Where would we expect our results to be? And then that green line at the top is our improvement goal. So you can see that we have made improvements in course completion. That low point was it wasn't actually the first year of the pandemic, but the second year of the pandemic. We seem to have more of an impact at our college, not starting in the fall of 2020. Remember, the pandemic hit in March of that year, but the year following. But we have made steady progress since then. The next chart is that annual fall retention rate, and that shows similar progress, and we actually hit our goal. So we're going through a process in next year to revisit that goal. But then if you look at our completion metrics, those for degrees, for certificates, and then for transfer, those are still showing the impacts. If you recognize that most community college students take at least 4 years, often 6 years, to complete an associate degree, then students who started with us in the pandemic are really just finishing. And so when we look back to last year and the year before, we're still seeing the impacts of the pandemic in these results. But we do, as part of this process, if we see performance that is below that gray shaded bar in terms of where our expectations are, then city planning does review this and make a recommendation. Probably will work jointly with the Student Journey Council to determine
what area of college should be taking a closer look at this over the next year so that we can reverse that trend, start to reverse that trend. Then the very last metric that we report that we have a standard set for is our licensure exam results. And congratulations to Dr. Armstrong and her program because 4 out of the last 5 years, they have had a 100% pass rate on the nursing licensure exam. Yeah.
You didn't even plan that, Susan, that I'm sure that we also going to acknowledge nurses and teachers appreciation weeks that are going on as well. So that's some good nursing love to show. During nurses appreciation.
Any questions on this?
I do want to say that I'm going to be presenting some data there. Can I ask you to just cross-reference some of the numbers? I don't like to do what I'm going to do, but it looks like it may be in our favor. But if I draw your attention to the 23-24 AS degrees, AA degrees, we list 781, and it's a duplicate from 22-23. I wonder if that is a typo. I mean, what are the chances that's the exact same number? And then I say that only, Susan, because if I draw your attention to the report that we got for preliminary report that we got for this year's graduating numbers, it lists 2023-24 as 893 associate degrees.
There are some constraints on who is included in the count for the ACCJC report. Students have to complete, like for transfers, students have to complete a minimum of 12 units at our institution in the year prior to transfer.
And that works, folks, so you know, because we have a lot of students in our district and we make it convenient. Like, I think this is a good thing, ultimately, that students in our district take courses at any of them.
Yes.
Any of the colleges in our district.
Yes, so
So our district may be giving us credit for students who received an associate's degree that the ACCJC's metrics process is correct. Okay, all right. Darn.
Yeah, and you know, we are trying as much as we can to align the metrics we use for ACCJC with the metrics the chancellor's office uses.
Well, if it works in our favor, I want to go the other way. Can we move on to the employee safety survey?
Yes, so we brought this up a couple of weeks ago and Ricky asked me to include John Parker and John Boyce and representatives from the constituency groups. So unfortunately, the comments did not print, but we started with the version of the employee safety survey that I developed in 2022. And after everyone's review and feedback, we just made a couple of changes. Under question 1, we added the supervisors as a group to the employee types. And then on question number 11, we're going to add another question related to that. Question 11 is, do you know the number for police dispatch? And then the second question is, have you actually programmed that into your phone, both on your desktop and on your cell phone? Because that is one of those things that in the moment, you want to have access to that, you don't want to have to be searching for it. And then there is an open-ended question at the end. Again, this kind of survey is really information for planning. John Boyce explained in his presentation in the last meeting. College council meeting that there was a new safety email, safety@sbcc.edu, that is available for over and above, obviously, contacting police dispatch if something is urgent, that city safety email can be used to report situations that need attention promptly. Where this kind of survey is really more of a planning tool, but since the last one was several years ago, it's time to revisit this, and then this information will go back to John and his team and the Health and Safety Committee for review.
Can I, well, before I make a suggestion, is any feedback on the survey?
Can we add a question about which buildings? I know that might be difficult for some people, but like some of us are kind of in the same building or area of buildings. Can we add a question? Can I see a question about the time certificate on campus? It would be great if we could like try to figure out how are people feeling in what areas of campus. I know that's different. Okay.
And any other? Can we have a question? And maybe this is open-ended, maybe there could be some pre-populated things. I'd like to know what would make people feel safe? I know that is possibly perception driven, but I'd like to have an understanding of what would make people feel safe on campus.
It's a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe just.
Okay, yes, thank you. While, any other questions, feedback? This is important because this has been an intense spring, folks. I keep telling Marciano I can't handle one more thing. And I jinx myself because one more thing happens. When I say one more thing, I'm not talking necessarily safety, I'm just talking in we have a very real matter going on with our area high school students who frankly are just doing things that high school students typically do. And we do not ever intend to create a police state here at San Diego City College. There are other ways for us to engage our members of our community. As high school students, we really want them to come here. Like, we want them to be here as long as they're doing what they should be doing. And so we are engaging in conversations with the principals and the vice principals of the high schools as we've had a couple of fights on campus. We've had some incidents with the high school students. We have 4 high schools around us for those of us who may not realize it, right? It's not just San Diego High School or East Village. There are 4 high schools around us. And I want to be clear that the high school students and their parents are welcome on the campus as long as they are doing what they should be doing. The reality though is we have had a number of high school students drinking and smoking weed and engaging in other activities in our restrooms. They've figured out a good place to do some things that they can't get away with doing in their high schools. And so we need to engage them in a discussion that those things are not allowable here as well. And by the way, let's help you get into class. We can help you with your education. And so we are facilitating that discussion. I am, Genevieve and others are facilitating that discussion with the high schools. Because I think that the students who are doing some of the things that they're doing, if they walked into the bathroom and their principal was there, or their vice principal or their dean of students was there, they'd have a very different reaction. The other thing I'll say, because I'm hearing from our facilities team that some of these same students are not necessarily cleaning up after themselves, which is making it hard for our classified professionals. And we have a plan to get through this that does not involve criminalizing these students for doing things that I probably did when I was in high school too. I don't know if we can remember back that far, but I do. I'm glad that there weren't cell phones and other things back then because I probably got myself into some trouble. With that said, we take this very serious and there's a way to tackle these discussions. Let me be clear, I'm not afraid of these students. I'm not afraid of any of our students or anyone who happens on campus. There's a way to engage people and say, look, you're welcome here, but there are rules. And so we are working through this, that way, in that manner of conversations. And we've had to do this before. We had a situation with, Garfield, the principal, the students, and they have a proximity to, the S building. And so they were frequenting the bathroom there. And so, we worked with the principal periodically, would just come hang out in the hallway. And interesting enough, the students stopped hanging out in the hallway doing things that they weren't supposed to do. And so there are, I assure you, you know, and I guess what makes this difficult is we don't broadcast every single thing that we're doing. Not that it's a secret, that there's just so many things going on that are in front of us. And that's why we're going to have these safety updates in this meeting so that we can talk about the things that we are doing. We recognize that the high school students, they find the areas of the campus where we may not necessarily frequent, right? So 1 month it was the S building, this month it happens to be the A building. These are our future students, folks, and we need to look at them that way and make sure that they know we want them here. But there are some things that some of them have been doing that we are working to address. Any questions? Yes.
I know I shared this with you and I'm sure something happened as a result of that conversation, but I just want to share that we have to be really careful about how we address this issue and that we're not criminalizing our students or harassing our students, which has happened on campus as a result. Some Puente students were questioned and harassed by police, asked if they were City College students, asked how old they were. We were followed into a restroom by a police officer, a campus police officer. And they were pretty shaken by the experience. And so I did discuss this with Ricky, and I'm sure that won't happen again, but you know, things like that have happened. And that's why some of our students do have negative feelings about police because they don't feel like the police are there to protect them. They feel like the police are there to criminalize them. So I'm eager to see solutions that don't involve making students feel that way. Because that is a sure way to scare our students away. Students who already feel like that in their communities coming onto our campus and then continuing to.
Other questions? This is real. This is just one of many challenges that we are facing, that there are folks who are working to engage. This is why we have tonight's watch program, where there are students and employees who are engaging with these students. And individuals who are on campus. I am walking through the areas myself now, engaging with students. And so that, you know, we take people's safety. That is our #1 priority. And anyone who feels unsafe, I would invite you to my office hours. I would love to have a conversation with you and understand that feeling. And also share with you the things that we are doing that you may not be. Certainly, I've been tackling campus safety in my weekly and monthly updates as well. And safety is not only the things we're talking about, it's also some of the concerns that have come forth regarding some of our Moja students and the use of the N-word. And I haven't had a chance to tell Mona, but we have another case out of the N-word, but of another racially derogatory term used yesterday. And we're not the only campus that is doing this. I had a meeting this morning with the presidents of the other colleges, and they are finding that we are micro of the macro, or is it macro of the micro? Micro of the macro. And so with what is going on in the media and social media, the rhetoric that is out there, people are emboldened to do things and say things. But I would also say that City College largely is a safe space where we should engage in educational dialogue, where if someone is curious about something that they could inquire, not in a way that is derogatory, but in a way that they seek to have a better understanding. So as I was talking both with Mona about these matters and exchanging some communications with Marco, invited Marco to a meeting along with Josh Shadowers where we tackled this N-word matter. You know, these are things that occur, and when they occur, we have to respond swiftly. And we have to respond with healing circles because there's trauma around the use of language, whether intentionally or unintentionally. I'm not here to say either. But I am here to say that there is a group of students who are traumatized as a result of an experience. And it sounds like now we have another one that we have to tend with. And there is nothing that we can do to stop someone from saying something that someone else may deem inappropriate. But what we can do is act swiftly when those kind of things happen to ensure folks have access to the employee assistance program, that students have access to our amazing mental health counseling program, and that we put safeguards in place where a dialogue can occur. So I had a chance briefly to chat with Justin that if I could ever be at my desk for more than 5 minutes, would really like to engage Black studies and Chicago studies in a discussion, because this notion around particularly the use of the N-word and some other terms, we need to have it. We need to have it in terms of understanding that certain terms were bombarded either in movies or in music or popular culture, but doesn't make it right for someone to say it. And I don't have the answers, right? I'm not an expert in this, which is why I'm saying I'm trying to really seek out my colleagues in ethnic studies to help guide the discussion where it can be a safe space for us to have this discussion. Because if we don't have it, then it's going to happen and we're not prepared how to respond. And so there are some things going on. It has not been a dull moment in the last 3 months. We are trying to get through the graduation as quickly as we can, because we all need some level of rest, because a lot of us are exhausted how this semester is going. Any thoughts, questions about that? I'm purposely being vague because when you have a situation like this occur, it involves both an employee and a student, and they both have their separate processes that they go through, right? So we have a formal complaint by a group of students who were involved in this, but they and others with many of us, most I would agree is a word that typically someone should have to.
So I know we've discussed the importance of broadening this conversation. Right now in my class, we're reading the message by Tom Phillips. And you know, he uses that word in historical context, and we have a discussion about this in my class. And I think he does a really good job of emphasizing the conditions that need to be necessary to have that discussion, right? That, like, you know, you can say what you want about, you know, the importance of never saying that word, of course, but also the conditions, that's the importance of creating a pedagogical condition to have those difficult conversations. And so what happens in those spaces are, you know, like, feel safe, and also, you know, protect everyone that's involved in that discussion, any kind of retaliation. And so I just want to recommend that everyone read the message, because I think he does a really good job of emphasizing that, like, what the conditions that we need to actually be creating, and really emphasizing that creating those conditions for Black and brown students, who will be emphasizing Black students to feel like they can have those discussions is really, like, that's what he's highlighting in his book, and that he was able to have those discussions at his HBCU, but that there's, you know, there's other places where we can have those discussions. It's really important that the conditions are right, because regardless of whether or not you say you're creating a safe space, like, there has to be a joint understanding of whether or not the conditions are appropriate.
Agreed, and I couldn't have said that better. And in doing so, there are people who have legitimate questions about things that I'm not sure we have that space for those questions to be raised without fear of whatever. And then there are both inner group and outer group dynamics that play into these discussions because most folks are not monolithic. So there may not be 100% agreement among X, Y, or Z. I'm talking in generalities, not specific to this particular term. But I agree, Mona, with your words, and we are going to invest a lot of time in professional development around this and seeking those folks on campus who are better equipped to lead these kinds of discussions. Because that's the other piece. Sometimes these discussions are occurring and it's not the right people. I'm just not the right person. This is not my level of expertise to have this discussion. I wanted to bring it forward though, because in the spirit of transparency, I remember vividly being a student and having the administration try to throw something that occurred under the rug when something like this occurs, right? So we do need to make sure that we call out when things occur, because in this spirit of social justice and this love ethic that we have here, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be disagreement. And to your point, Mona, how do we create an environment where we can disagree, but that doesn't mean I love you any less or that I respect you any less. And then there's a learning, there has to be a learning, right? Any of the array of challenges that we're dealing with right now, that's the first question we ask, is like, what is the learning? There were some conditions that allowed this to happen that we have to own up to. Perfect storm kind of things, transitions, environmental and otherwise. So thank you for those words. Any other thoughts or questions? And if I can clarify, because context does matter also. This was not a group of students being called the N-word. This was the N-word being used. And that doesn't downplay that it's never going to be okay. But context matters. That's about as much as I can say without getting into further details when there is an investigation that is underway to this. But I'll end with this. The graduation numbers are amazing. Kudos to our faculty and everyone involved, classified professional supervisors. We're going to have, as we always do, one heck of a celebration for our students on the 22nd. I would invite everybody to join us. We always are looking for volunteers. If the entire office wants to volunteer, we are willing to close your office down to help volunteer at Balboa Park. Please reach out to Don. We had our walkthrough yesterday, great turnout. Kudos to the folks who did that. There is a lot to celebrate, and I'll recap what one of my colleagues said. In the face of these very real challenges that we're dealing with, there's still a lot of successful, amazing work that is happening in our college. And so I don't want to downplay the amazing things that each of you and our colleagues are doing to help our students. Please join me and all of the leadership on the 22nd at Balboa Park. It is a week earlier, so know that school is still in, but please join us. With that said, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you on the 27th. Oh, I blended the nurses and the teacher appreciation. And Susan talked about nursing have 100%. I just do it right on the